Let's go. Okay, so page 21. Obviously, we're going to have 3 sets, so we're going to add that layer of difficulty here. You need to understand that while there's 3 sets, oftentimes we're only going to relate to 2 sets at a time. So this section right here is going to be called A and B, right, where A meets B, and quite specifically, it's, let me just use my other highlighter. This one bleeds through too much, right? Specifically, it's this whole section here. Okay, that's A and B. And then we go around clockwise. This is C and B or B and C. Yeah. It would not in this case. Almost for now, when you're just considering this intersection, forget about the third circle here. Almost forget about it. It's just these two here still. If we wanted to refer to this one, Nick, I think you're asking for this one right here, correct? I don't have a notation for that, but we're gonna use wording to refer to this section here. That's the most complicated case at the end, okay? But I appreciate that. You have to question Mr. Dirksen. There's no way that he'll go through a lesson without making at least one mistake, right? B and C, it's gonna get a little ugly, but we're gonna try our best here. B and C is right there. And then A meets C is right there. I'm gonna use orange for that. Okay. So us knowing that part, and I'm gonna add the outlier. The outlier, I'm gonna add that right here, guys. You know how you refer to the outlier? I think if you watch the video, you will remember. It's the union of all sets, not. Right? That's how you refer to the outliers. Remember, union, we would want to combine all of these sets and have the outliers outside of those sets, right? So you're only left with whatever belongs to at least one of those sets. Okay, guys? And so everything else is considered an outlier. So here's that ugly formula. And I'm going to walk you through it. So same as before, the union of all sets. Right? The union of all sets is found by adding A, B, and C. So you add up all those numbers, but you know that they're overlapping multiple times. So what you need to do is you need to subtract the green part. And I would strongly suggest you add this to your study sheet, unless you're really good at memorizing. Then we also subtract the orange part here, A and C. The order doesn't matter, as long as you subtract them. And then you subtract B and C. But then we add something. You see at the end here that we add this weird, I have to mention this has union and this has intersection. So where all three of them intersect, it's basically the people that like all three things is found right at the heart here. I'm going to use pink for that one. So if you just want to refer to this section right here, right, that's that one right at the end. We got to add that because you went around and subtracted, and then you took out the center. So now you need to add the center back in. Okay. So that's where it gets a little bit more complicated there. So this is your pie. This is pi, and I will stick to this version only. And one thing I need to, this formula doesn't include that, but I need to remind you, I'm going to just add that. Always remember that if you want this number, there's quite often a way to get that number. You have to go NU, and for the sake of space, I'm going to go outliers. Can you see that? Alexander, do you mind closing that blind? I think it's blinding a little bit too much. NU minus outliers. So guys, if you know the outliers, so like 100 families have been surveyed, and you know that 40 don't fall into either one of them, then you subtract it, and that's the number you're going to plug in here, and the rest we'll see how that goes. Okay, we'll see what we are missing. But at the end of the day, you can't have two unknowns. You cannot solve it if you have two unknowns. So you got to work with that. Okay. All right. So 3 types. We're going to jump right into examples here, and we were going to break this down into 3 types, right? The easiest one is the middle piece is given, and then we just work our way out. And then the second one is we have to find the middle. Then we use our way out. We use pi for that. This is pi, by the way. Pi with 3 sets. If you want to write that down, this is pi with 3 sets. And then the last one, which we're going to do next week, is you're given partial information. That's the one Nick was referring to, where we might be given these sections here only, and we're going to have to deal with that also using pi, but we have to be careful there. So let's dive in. Let's do type 1 first. Go to page 22. Okay. So let me just focus here. Okay. Example 1, Rachel surveyed grade 12 students about how they communicated with friends over the previous week. Below are the results. Use a Venn diagram to justify your answers. 66% called on a cell phone, 76 texted, 34 used a social networking site. So in a sense, you're setting up your 3 sets here. I don't know if you see that. So we're going to call that cell phone, texted, T, and social networking, we're going to call that S. Okay. So 56% called on a cell phone and texted. You see that? This is cell phone and texted. That's what this is. 18% called on a cell phone and used social networking. So that would be cell phone and S. Okay. 90% texted and used social networking sites. So texting and social networking. I feel like these numbers need to be updated. 12% used all 3 pieces of information. All 3 forms of communication, sorry. So that right there should remind you, you used all 3, that is our intersection, correct? So cell phone meets texting meets social networking. That's what this is. Okay. Middle is given. I'm going to write that down. If you see that, you know this is type 1, most likely. And I made a few notes here for you. Are we given the universal? No, right? But what are these values in percentages? So percentages given. Therefore, what's the universal? 100%. So you might think you don't know the universal, but when you have percentages, then guess what? Your universal is automatically 100, so they don't have to give you that. Another note, do they mention outliers? No outliers. Right? No outliers given. Find out, right? Find out. You're gonna have to figure that out at some point when you make your Venn diagram to figure that to solve it properly. Draw a Venn diagram, then answer the following. So how about we just draw it and then we'll look at whether or not we have to um, solve anything. But you might say, well, are they overlapping? Well, they're telling you there is a slot where all three of them overlap, correct? Right here. So we know this is a joint. And quite frankly, three sets, they're always going to be joint. So let's draw our Venn diagram. So we've got one set. So you kind of start with your two like that. And then you just make a third. Like so. And you have to have a box around it. So this is my Venn diagram. I'm going to say U is 100%. I'm going to label my sets in the order that they're provided. So CTS. So I'm going to go C, T, and S. Cell phone is 66%. Texting is 76. So just fill that in. Here you have to be careful, okay, guys? The center guaranteed goes in here. No problems there. But the next part is where we get in trouble, okay? The and part, okay? So when you have, for example, 56%, we're on the cell phone and texted. So where C meets T, it's right here. So that part right there, N of C and T is 56%. It's not inside, it's just referring to that one section right there. Should I use a highlighter? Maybe. Okay. So that's what 56% is referring to, that whole intersection. And then next we have C and S. That's the 18%. So be careful, C and S. That right there is the number of cell phone users and social networking. And that is what? 18, correct? Use whatever color you have available. But a lot of students want to put the 56, they put the 56 in here, or 18 in there. That's not correct. Okay, so we're going to leave it outside for now. Then the last one is here, T and S. This is N of T and S. And we're told that's 19%. I'm going to go orange. The whole thing here. And now we're going to fill in. You're going to have your calculators ready here. So you move your way out, okay? I'm going to use a red pen for whatever I fill in afterwards. Okay? I kind of do that. I would suggest you do the same on a test. If you have a pen, it's nice to see what happened after. So how would we get this number here? We would go 56 minus 12 to get that. So 56 minus 12, that's 44. It's going to get cramped if I actually show the work, but I feel like I will do that. 56 minus 12, that's 44. And I'm going to circle that, 44%. Let me zoom into my Venn diagram. That way you can see it better there. That's 44. Then go over to this one, this section here. we're going to go 19 minus 12. Okay, and that's 7%. I'm going to circle that. And then you go over to this side. That's 18 minus 12. That's 6%. You got that. And now you move out even further. Let's now figure out this section. So technically every section that is formed should have a number in it. So to get this piece right here, maybe I'll use my pencil to show the work. I'll go 66 minus. You choose how you want to do this. You can go minus 44, minus 12, minus 6. Does that make sense, what I'm doing there? 66 is the whole circle, correct? I'm taking away these numbers here, because then I'm left with that only. And so that gives you 4%. Let's go over to this side. Same here. This would be 76. I'm going to show my work. 76 minus. You want to see the shortcut here? Instead of adding these two individually, I know that that adds up to 56 in this case. So I'm going to go minus 56. And then just take this 7 here and subtract that as well. You end up with 14%. And last but not least, you do this one, 34 minus, you pick which one you want to start with. I'm going to go with the 18. So 18 takes care of these two, minus 7. And that gives me 9%. And yes, if you make a mistake, it kind of has a ripple effect everywhere. So you got to be careful. Okay? Yeah. This one? Both of you? Everybody's telling me that? Okay. That's what I mean. It has a ripple effect. I need to check if you're awake. I don't know what happened. Because I have this. Oh, I have 77 here. Can I show you? So let's say that this happened to you on an exam, where I see that what you just copied the wrong number, you put 77. That's only a half mark deduction if we see that. Everything else would still get full marks. So I guess I wasn't awake enough yet. Thank you guys. That's 13. That's correct. Sorry about that. If you use pen, you're gonna have to write over that. Okay, so now, what else do we have left? The outliers, correct? Always ask yourself, are there outliers? Can I just say one thing? If this question said everybody that was interviewed likes at least one of them, that means that everything is in the sets. There are no outliers. So watch for the wording there. Okay, are we good? Everything else is good? The 9 and the 4? Okay, so let's figure out our outlier. I'm just going to make sure I have enough space here. I'm just going to show that here, outliers. I'm going to go 100. There are a number of ways of doing this, but watch how I'm going to do it. I'm going to go minus 66%, right? I take the 66, so that takes care of all of these numbers. And then I'm just going to subtract these 3 yet. Minus 13, minus 7, minus 9. $5%, correct? Because I'm going to be off, so it's going to be 5%. My mistake there. So this is 5%. We're going to put 5% here. One more thing, I think it's worth mentioning in your notes here. How I start is start in the middle and work your way out. Okay. Start in the middle and work your way out. Pretty messy, right? Let's answer the questions now. A, what percent of students use at least one of the three forms of communication? This is the at least, so you wanna have the union of all three sets. You don't want this. So the easiest way, but I'm just gonna show you not A, B, C, it's C, T, S. C union T union S. It would be 100 minus 5 is the best way to do this. So 95%. 95% of students use at least one. Of communication. Okay. B. What percent of students texted and used social networking but did not use a cell phone? Read this carefully. So texted and social networking, that's right here. This is the intersection, right? So it's, you would think it's 19, but it says they do not use a cell phone. So you don't want a part of this section because that would be including cell phone. So it's only the 7%. 7%. Do I have a notation for that? I do. I'm going to show it to you, but it's not too critical for you to know. So it's T and S, but not C. So that'd be 7%. That's the only 7 in that diagram, so you should be able to go grab it and see where that is coming from. Okay. C. I'm going to do that here. What percent of students used a cell phone and a social networking site but did not text? So it's same kind of idea. C meets S, but you do not want any texting, so it's just a 6. C meets C and S, but not T. That would be, and I'm not using sentences now because I want to get to the next part. But that would be expected, right? That you just have a little statement there. That's C. For D, what percent of students only used a cell phone, only texted, or only used a social networking site? What would this be? I'm going to present to you that what they're asking when it says only cell phone, only texted, or only use social networking, it's these numbers right here. These are the onlys for you right there. So we'll be basically 4% plus the 13 plus the 9. That's it. So 27% of students would fall under that category. So yes, sometimes it gets complicated answering the questions, but just read your questions carefully. E. What percent of students called on a cell phone or use social networking site? What does that or right there should tell you? We're only talking about these two here. So they're actually asking you, ready for this? Cell phone or social networking site. That's what they're asking for. It's the union of those two sets. And I wish I could go another highlighter in there, but I think I'm going to mess it all up. So C unites S. Just watch where my pencil is going. It's going to be the union of those two sets, okay? Forget about texting, just unite these two. So this is how I'm going to work with it. I'm going to go 66% plus, I'm just going to add these two that remain, 7% plus 9%. That would be the union of all those three. Okay. It's 82. So I'm coming back to only two sets, right? This is still happening. So I'm using notation to translate what the word problem is saying. So you should be able to go back and forth between the two. Fun stuff, eh? Don't get too excited, right? You gotta keep it down. All right. Keep going. Let me see here. I'm gonna take you to type 2. I'm not gonna do type 3 today, just type 2. So 25. $25 for now. You must find the middle. So that's what is different about this one, where you must find the middle. And we're going to use pi for it. Maybe I'll just clarify, use pi for this one. A sports club found that 95% of its members played at least one of football, tennis, and badminton. And this right here, this statement right here, played at least one of them. It's indicates that there are no outliers. I'm gonna go all out here. Every person is inside F unites T unites badminton. Okay? Every person that has been interviewed is part of that. There are no outliers, so that's kind of nice. You don't have to worry about outliers. So let's see here. 36 played football. We're gonna call that F. Tennis, badminton, it's just straightforward, right? It doesn't say only this or only that. It's just saying in general. There could be an overlap. 5 played both football and tennis. So this is your F and T. 8 played tennis and badminton. So that's your tennis and T and B. And 10 played football and badminton. Before you answer, start your Venn diagram, guys. Just do it. Okay, so let's go with that. One circle. Don't make it as pretty as mine, okay? Can't get better than this. Okay. U is 95. We're told that's 95. I'm going to put the letters in the order that they're given and clockwise. Not that it matters. It honestly doesn't. as long as you have them right, but it would make my job a lot easier if you did, because then I can just quickly look at your numbers and check, and they're good. 36, 28, and you got to make sure I copy them right. I think I got it right. So 36, 28, 51. And then 5 are football and tennis. Football and tennis, I'm just going to go like this, arrow, and I'm going to call that 5, correct? It's this whole thing here. It's the whole intersection there. 8 would be at tennis and badminton. So that's right here. That is 8. And 10 are football and badminton. So right there, that's 8. Careful not to put them inside, okay? If you put them inside, you're going to get it all wrong. Thank you. All right. And make sure the numbers are right, okay? I will call this X because it's going to be crucial for us to find out what that is. Okay, and I'm going to use pi to solve that. By the way, watch, A is asking how many players played all 3. It's asking for this anyways. But regardless, you're going to have to find it. Like, it's almost a guarantee. I would almost, this is how I do most of my solving. I just find the draw the Venn diagram, solve for what's missing, and then I start answering. Because chances are you're going to need to do it anyways. So here we go. How do you use pi on this one? For A, use pi. I don't want to write out the whole thing, guys. I just don't want to write out the whole formula. So I'm just going to ask you to refer back if you need a refresher. But it's basically the universal, take away the outliers. What are the outliers? 0, right? But I'm going to just do it anyway so you don't forget about them. And then just watch the pattern. You add all the numbers outside. So 36, 28, 51. Then you go minus. I'm going to start at the top here. Minus the intersection, minus that other intersection, and minus the third intersection, plus x, because this is where we add. Right? This piece right there is f and t and b. We're looking for that one. I should probably say no outliers here. So that just really reduces to 95. And then you just add this all up. So I'm just going to do that as well. Minus 5 minus 8 minus 10. That's 92 plus x. Notice that with the 2, we had a minus x, correct? What? You had a minus x. Here you have a plus x. So you got to make sure you understand when it's a 3 set, you actually add the intersection, okay? So don't let that, don't forget that. So it's minus 92, and you shouldn't get a negative in this case because then you're in trouble. All right, if you get a negative here, you're in trouble. Okay. So we know x is 3. So I'm just going to answer here. 3 students play all 3 sports. B, how many played exactly 2 sports? Let me just go up here a little bit. I think I'm going to try to do it here. B. How many played exactly 2 sports? And we haven't yet filled out our Venn diagram, so let's go ahead and do that. So I will just say, if this is 3, Then it's 8 minus 3 would be 5. 5 minus 3 would be 2. 10 minus 3 would be 7. Okay. So 2, 7, 5 there. Sorry, should bring that up. If you get a negative when you try to fill this in, you're in trouble, right? You got to go back and check something went wrong. Like if you're trying to subtract, it's like, ooh, that's going to give me a negative. Double check. Now I'm going to go 36 minus all three of these numbers, and that's 24. 28 minus all three of these numbers is 18. 51 minus these three numbers, and you're going to have to practice this, is 36. There we go. Now it's filled in. I can continue answering my question. How many like exactly 2 sports? It's these numbers right here, guys. Watch. These 2 like exactly only 2 sports. Right? If you said 5, then there could be some that like that third sport. So it's just the 2 plus the 5 plus the 7. Okay, so it's these numbers here. So I'm going to use a highlighter for that. Right? 2, 5, 7. I got them from, they like exactly 2 sports, only 2 sports. So that would be 14 students. And then C, how many only play football? Only football in this case would be, any volunteers for only football? I'm not going to answer because I might get it wrong. It's this one right here, right? 24. And then D, how many played football but not tennis? Football but not tennis. So it's asking, let's use notation if we can. Football, not tennis. So basically, you just want the 24 and the 7. Like if you're just talking about these 2, we want 24 and 7. Because this would be not, these like tennis, you don't want those numbers. So it's just 24 and 7. And if answering these questions is gonna give you a hard time, for now, focus on figuring out and being able to completely fill out a Venn diagram. That would be my suggestion to you. Just be able to fill this in, and then answering will come a little later. You're probably gonna have to try a few questions for you to get that. Okay. I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna assign some questions for you to try. So, where should I write the homework down? I'm going to write it down at the bottom of this page here. So I'm going to say pages. For the type 1, we go from 23 to 24. Type 1. And then pages for let's see here, 27. I'm going to send you to the textbook for type 2. So that'll be page, sorry. 191, 3 to 8. 191, 3 to 8. I'm just going to double check to see if that jives. if you start from 3, there might be two Venn diagrams only. So I'm going to start at 6. Go from 6 to 8 instead of 3 to 8 for now. This is type 2. And let me just make sure. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that for now. Just make sure you give it a try, and then we'll review that on Monday. Just a reminder, our test would be happening next